Hey there friends, welcome. I am MisterBo and today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to help you beat the final 5 time attacks in Hot Wheels City Rumble. These are arguably the hardest, but also maybe some of the easiest time attacks in the game, but I've been seeing a lot of comments saying, how are you able to do these? I'm having a hard time. So I thought I'd go through these final 5 because again, they are pretty hard, and give you some pointers on how you can get those unleashed times. We're going to be taking a look at Green Wave, Speeding Ticket, Overtime, No Braking, and Hasty. Now these tracks appear earlier on in Hot Wheels City Rumble with easier times, so even if you're struggling with those easier times, maybe this video will help you there. If there is a specific time attack that I see a lot of people having problems with in the comments, then I'll try and do a video to help you guys out with that certain track. So if none of these are the tracks you're having trouble with, put the track you're having trouble with in the comments below. Now we're going to be taking on each track and I'm going to show you a couple of tips in each track. We'll then move on to the next one, and then at the end of the video I will have full unedited gameplay of the unleashed time for you to watch. Now for most of these you want a pretty decent car. It probably wants to be legendary. Some of the cars you get through Hot Wheels City Rumble, like the Night Shifter or even the Bone Shaker, can help out a bunch. I used the 442 Ultimobile, which is unlocked through all the secret races. That is a really good car if you're struggling to find a car that is able to beat these unleashed times. I also use the Power Rocket quite a bit as well. So starting with the first track, Bridge Overtakes. Now there are a couple of little shortcuts you can take here, and there is a couple of different routes you can take, and I'll be showing you which ones are the best to do. So of course, at the beginning of the race, you want to make sure you're hitting purple flames. If you don't hit purple flames, I would suggest restarting and trying that again, because those purple flames at the beginning give you an extra boost, which can come in very handy and maybe save you a couple of seconds. So of course the main thing here is you want to be using your boost effectively, either boosting out of corners and not boosting on turbo pads. If you see a turbo pad coming up, save your boost, hit the turbo pad, then wait for that to run out before activating your turbo. And the first thing to be wary of in this course is when you come up to the bridge, and there are 2 ways to go, down below or up top. You want to save a boost here and use your boost to make your way up onto the top section. I find that the quickest route here. If you're not able to do that, you still can hit the unleashed time by going on the bottom route. I just find the other section a little bit easier to take. We then come up to the first section of the track where you can kind of cut a corner here. As you come off the track onto the floor, you can take a hard right, and as long as you drift round and hit the checkpoint, you can save a couple of seconds on that turn. We then come up to the second section where we can take 2 routes. Again, we can either go up or down. Here you want to go on the up path. Going down is very slow, and if for some reason you go down there, I would highly suggest restarting the race and trying again, because this way is very, very slow and you're probably not going to be able to hit that unleashed time by going this way. Now near the end of the race, you'll come up against this section where it's a long straight heading round into the final turn. Now this is where we can save 4 to 5 seconds by taking a nice little shortcut. So you want to hit the turbo pad, but then you want to slam on your brakes, and as you get up to this table on your right, you want to head onto it, trying to avoid the Rubik's Cube, which you can crash into if you're not turning tight enough. You can then boost across the table, head back onto the course, and that will cut out that whole final turn, saving you again around 4 to 5 seconds, and that should hopefully get you 1 minute 58 being the unleashed time. We can then move on to Speeding Ticket, which is Wild Wild Skate. Now this is probably the hardest of the final time attacks because there isn't really much you can do here to shave off seconds on your time. You just need to make sure you're going incredibly fast and you're taking corners as best as you can. Again, you want to make sure you're getting purple flames here. You're definitely going to need it on this track. On the second corner on this track, you can actually cut it really tight. Again, as long as you hit the checkpoints on the track, you can save a couple of seconds by just cutting that corner. Again, using your boost efficiently out of turns, making sure you're not boosting on top of boost pads. We then come up to our second skip, which is this section here, and we can take a hard right, drift round past the basketballs, and again, as long as you hit that checkpoint, you'll be fine. I highly suggest saving a boost for the loop here. There is a turbo pad at the beginning, but it's always good to have another one when that runs out. And it's also worth saving up a boost for when you get to the spider. Being able to just boost past the spider so you can avoid the cobweb is always a help. There is a second loop on this track. You can try and save a boost for it, but I usually use it beforehand. It doesn't really slow you down that much. One of the annoying parts of this track, of course, is the snake mouth. If you're getting a good time on this track, you shouldn't have to worry about it closing on you unless you're really fast or you're really slow. As we come out of the loop from the snake mouth, we'll head down onto this section of the track and we can cut a corner here. You want to cut round past the water bottle and aim for the blue light. That is where the checkpoint is. And again, you can save a good couple of seconds there. Now it's really about just going as fast as you can, trying to build up some boosts here for the final straight so you can get in within that 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Again, this one is going to be very close. It is probably the hardest out of the final ones to get, mainly because there aren't that many shortcuts and tricks you can use to cut some time. But hopefully you can get that done. We then move on to overtime. Again, a fairly easy one. There's a few different routes we can take on this one that are going to make us go quicker, though this will be a fairly close one. Now at the beginning of this track, you'll head down and I suggest taking the first right instead of continuing down. I feel like that way is a lot quicker. It is also worth noting, especially on this track, if you don't get a perfect start and you just don't bother boosting at the beginning, the game actually gives you all your boosts, which comes in super handy if you've got a car like Rocket Power where you have 6 boosts. That can really gain you some time instead of trying to get that purple boost at the beginning of a race, at least on this track. You'll then want to start trying to build as much boost as possible around this yellow turn, because we're coming up to a loop section where it's always again good to have a boost, especially on this one because it's a very long one, and if you don't have that speed you're going to be slowing down incredibly quickly and even perhaps falling off the track and having to restart. We then have a nice section where you can build up a lot of boost. I'd be careful about boosting coming off of that turn because you can miss the hold down into the underground section of this track, but once you're down there you can freely boost along that straight and then build up some more on the turn. And then from here, it's kind of just trying to build up again as much boost as possible, using it where you can. There is a gravity section of the track here, and I wouldn't be afraid to use your boost here. It looks like you might go flying off, but you should be able to handle this pretty well. And then it's just about taking these final turns as best as you can, trying to boost as you go around them, so you can get that time of 1:49. Again, this is a fairly close one, but if you're taking turns well enough and you're going the route that I suggest, you should be able to get that time no problem. We then move on to no braking, which is on the track, applied gravity, and this is the easiest time trial. You're going to be able to get this one really easy thanks to a nice little shortcut halfway through the track. Now, of course, you still want to be performing well because you could still miss this time if you're crashing into corners and things like that, but kind of take the track as is. The only thing I suggest is you want to be getting around 20 seconds by the time you head down into the vent section of the track. But apart from that, as long as you're building up boost, taking corners nicely, you should be fine with this one. We have around like 10 to 15 seconds to play with here, so if you're not doing very well, you should still be able to hit this one. Now there is a section of this track which is a bunch of tight corners. Take this one carefully, don't rush, don't use your boosts. In fact, try and save up a boost because when you come out of this turn, there is a section of the track that doesn't have a boundary to it and you can shoot off there, head down onto another section of the track, and that is where you save around 10 seconds of time. From here, it's pretty plain sailing. Again, just boosting, taking corners carefully. You have around 10 to 15 seconds to play with here, so don't rush it, take your time, and you should be able to get this one no problem at all. And that takes us to the final one, which is Hasty, which takes place on the track Stunt Parking. And again, there are a few little shortcuts we can take here to save ourselves a couple of seconds. Now this has the same start as Gravity Yo-Yo, but I do suggest going right at the beginning here. Obviously taking the first couple of levels down, but instead of continuing down, take a right. This seems to be the quicker route personally, and there's a lot of chances to build up a lot of boost here with long turns and drifts. Now we'll come up to a section where we head off the track, and this is where we're going to be doing a little shortcut, saving a couple of seconds. Now we can take a hard left. If you're able to do that, you might not be able to, you might be going too quick, but you basically want to head along the course normally and then avoid going back on the track, going forwards, jumping off the skyscraper and heading down into this bit of concrete. Sometimes it does help boosting while you're in the air so you land nicely. Now we come up to a section of the track where it then splits into two. Now if you're able to, I would take the right section here. It seems to be the quicker route, but even if you do go left, you can still get the unleashed time with no problem. We then come up to a section of the track where we go off the course again. Here you can take a hard right and cut that corner completely. I would just suggest boosting back on the track so you sort of make up the time you lost from slowing down, and then it's pretty much plain sailing to the end of the course. taking your turns as best as you can and boosting again where you can. And there you have it, those are the final 5 time attacks in Hot Wheels City Rumble, probably the hardest ones minus Applied Gravity, which is a fairly easy one once you know that shortcut. Again, let me know if you're having any troubles with any other time attack courses, and I might be able to do some guides on those if enough people are having the same problem. Stay tuned because I'm going to show you the full lap unedited where I beat these unleashed times. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, then click that like button. If you're new around here, then subscribe for more gaming content and coverage. Follow me over on Twitter at @IamMisterBo, and you can join our Discord server, link in the description. Apart from all that though, cheers for hanging out with me. Super appreciate it. Hopefully I'll catch you around some other time, but until then, as always, make sure you take care. straightforward.